Have you ever found yourself staring at your phone, waiting for a message that never comes, refreshing the chat, rereading old conversations, convincing yourself that maybe, just maybe, they're just busy, that any moment now they'll text back? You tell yourself to wait a little longer, to hold on just a bit more, because surely they'll realize what they have in you, right? But deep down, you already know the truth. They saw your message, they chose silence, and yet here you are, holding your breath for someone who isn't even thinking about you. That ends today, because the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop chasing, that's when everything changes. You've been fed a lie your entire life. This idea that love is something you earn. That if you prove yourself enough, someone will choose you. That if you just hold on a little longer, they'll come around. That if you pour more love into them, they'll finally see your worth. But real love doesn't work that way. Real love doesn't require a sales pitch. It doesn't make you question where you stand. And the harsh truth, if they wanted to talk to you, they would. You don't need another sign. You don't need more proof. Their silence is the answer. So why are you still waiting? What exactly are you hoping for? A text? A half-hearted response? A few meaningless words just to keep you hooked? Number. You deserve more than that. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation, someone who doesn't make you beg for attention, someone who doesn't make you feel like you're auditioning for a place in their life. Until you understand that, you'll keep running in circles, chasing after people who only see you as an option. And that's the real trap. Believing that if you just give them more time, they'll wake up and realize what they have. But here's what you don't realize. The more you chase, the less they value you. The more available you are, the more they take you for granted. The second you start prioritizing them over yourself, you start losing the real power move. Silence. It's time to stop explaining, stop proving, stop convincing, stop begging. Just stop, because the moment you walk away, the moment you reclaim your power, that's when everything shifts. And even if they don't notice, that's still your answer. What's meant for you will never require chasing. That's where Stoicism comes in. The ability to detach, to control your emotions instead of letting them control you. To step back, not out of spite, not to play games, but because you know your worth. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. And the second you start acting like the prize, everything changes. So let me ask you, are you ready to stop chasing? Because once you do, they will feel your absence. They always do. Silence is power. Use it wisely. Most people misunderstand silence. They see it as weakness, as giving up, as being forgotten. But in reality, silence is the most powerful move you can make. It forces people to feel your absence instead of just hearing your presence. The moment you stop reaching out, stop chasing, stop trying to force a connection, everything shifts. You've been conditioned to believe that if you care about someone, you have to prove it. That love means constant effort. That relationships require endless checking in. That if someone pulls away, the only way to bring them back is to remind them of your presence. But that's a lie. The more you chase, the more they pull away. The more you beg for attention, the less they respect you, because people don't value what's always available. They don't miss what's constantly in front of them. They don't stop to appreciate what they believe will always be there. Think about it. Have you ever had something in your life that you took for granted? Something so constant, so available that you didn't even notice its importance until it was gone? Maybe it was a person. Maybe it was an opportunity. Maybe it was something as simple as time. And the moment it disappeared, you felt that absence like a hole in your chest. As long as you keep making yourself available, as long as you keep reminding them you exist, they have no reason to miss you, no reason to reflect on what they lost. And that's exactly the problem. You never give them the chance to feel the emptiness your presence once filled. But let's be honest. You're terrified of silence. You're afraid that if you stop reaching out, they'll forget you. That if you don't remind them, they'll move on. That if you let go, the connection will disappear completely. And that fear, it's what keeps you stuck. It keeps you texting, keeps you checking, keeps you waiting. But here's what you don't realize. If silence makes them forget you, then you were never that important to them in the first place. If walking away makes no difference, then your presence never truly mattered. And that's the truth most people refuse to face. You keep holding on not because you truly believe they care, but because you're afraid of what it means if they don't. Silence forces people to confront reality. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to make them see your worth, they have to deal with the consequences of their own choices. They have to sit with the fact that they took you for granted. And for the first time, they'll wonder where you went, why you stopped, why you no longer care. That's where the power lies. Not in proving your value, but in removing it. And if they don't notice, if they don't reach out, if your absence makes no impact, that's your answer. That's the moment you realize you are wasting your time. That's when you finally see the truth. You are giving energy to someone who was never truly invested in you to begin with. But let's talk about what happens when you stay silent, when you resist the urge to text, when you don't react, when you don't check in, when you don't break the stillness with desperate attempts at connection. At first, it will feel unbearable. You'll itch to reach out. You'll want to do something to break the tension. You'll convince yourself it's harmless to send a casual message just to see where things stand. But every time you do this, you lose, because the moment you reach out, you send a signal that you're still there, still waiting, still hoping. And in doing so, you hand them all the power. But when you remain silent, that's when something fascinating happens. They start to feel it. They start to wonder. They start to question. Because suddenly, the thing they thought would always be there, the attention, the care, the validation, is gone. And for the first time, they have to face life without it. That discomfort, that uncertainty, that's when they start to realize exactly what they lost. Now let's talk about the other side of silence, the side that has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. Because the real reason you struggle with silence isn't just about them forgetting you. It's about what silence reveals to you about yourself. It forces you to sit with your own thoughts, to confront the reality that maybe, just maybe, you've been using this person as a distraction, as a crutch, as something to fill the void inside of you. Maybe it's not just them you're afraid of losing. Maybe it's the idea of them, the potential, the fantasy, the hope that one day they'll finally become the person you want them to be. But silence strips away the illusion. It forces you to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. And sometimes that's the hardest part, because once you accept reality, once you truly see how little effort they were putting in, how little they valued you, how little they actually cared, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending. You can't keep fooling yourself into believing that if you just wait a little longer, they'll finally come around. So what's your move? Do you keep waiting? Do you keep texting? Do you keep hoping for a change that will never come? Or do you step back, reclaim your power, and finally choose yourself? That's what Stoicism teaches us, not to be cold, not to be emotionless, but to master our emotions rather than letting them control us. To understand that what is truly meant for us will never require begging, because our worth isn't something to be proved. It's something to be recognized. And if they couldn't see it, that's on them. But from this moment on, you choose you. It's about understanding that you don't need to chase what's already yours, that people who truly care about you will always make an effort, and the ones who don't, they were never meant to be in your life to begin with. So, the next time you feel the urge to text, to check in, to remind them that you exist. Stop. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I don't? Because if fear is the only thing driving you, then you already know your answer. You already know what you need to do. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is your power. It's the difference between someone who values themselves and someone who's desperate for validation. So use it, hold it, and watch as everything begins to change. Because the moment you stop proving, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop explaining, that's when you see the truth. That's when you feel the weight of freedom. And trust me, when they finally realize what they lost, when they feel the impact of your absence, that's when they come back. But by then, you won't even care. Stop selling yourself. The right one won't need convincing. Here's something you need to understand right now. Love is not a marketplace, and you're not a product that needs to be sold. You don't need to convince someone to see your worth. You don't need to lower your standards, offer discounts, or package yourself in a way that makes you more appealing. The right one will know, the wrong one will make you prove it. And yet, here you are, marketing yourself, trying to make someone see what should already be obvious. Ever caught yourself replaying conversations in your head, wondering if you said the wrong thing? Spent hours crafting the perfect text, carefully choosing your words so you don't seem too eager, too emotional, too needy, convinced yourself that if you just act the right way, they'll finally realize what they have? This is the trap, the illusion, the exhausting game you've been conditioned to play, and it's time to break free. Because here's the truth, the more you try to prove your value, the more they devalue you. The moment you start chasing approval, you've already lost. The second you start convincing someone to stay, you've placed them above yourself. And what does that teach them? That they can put in minimal effort and still have access to you. That no matter how much they neglect, ignore, or disrespect you, you'll always be there, ready to fight for a place in their life. But let's make one thing clear, you are not an option. You are not a backup plan, and the only way to get the love you deserve is to stop fighting for the love you don't. Think about it. Have you ever seen gold beg to be chosen? Have you ever seen a masterpiece lower its price just because someone walked past without noticing it? Number. Because value doesn't beg, value doesn't convince, it just is. And the people who truly recognize it won't need to be persuaded. But when you try to prove yourself to someone who doesn't see your worth, you send a different message. I'm not sure of my own value, so I need you to validate it for me. And that's the fastest way to lose respect. It's time to ask yourself a hard question. Why am I trying so hard to make them see my worth? Is it because you truly believe they're the only person for you? Or is it because you're afraid? Afraid that if you stop trying, you'll have to face the truth that they were never truly invested in you to begin with, that their affection was always conditional, always fickle, always one wrong move away from disappearing. And that's the hardest part, realizing that the love you were fighting for was never real to begin with. That's what keeps people stuck. Not the person, not the relationship. The fear of letting go of the fantasy. But the moment you stop selling yourself, that's the moment you realize you were never the one who needed proving. Stop fighting for someone who doesn't care. You are the prize. You keep fighting, not because they're worth it, but because walking away feels like admitting you wasted your time. But let me tell you something. You didn't waste your time. You learned, you grew, and now you have a choice. You can either keep trying to convince someone who doesn't care, or you can finally start acting like the prize you are. What happens when you stop selling yourself? At first, it's going to feel strange. You've spent so long trying to be chosen that you've forgotten what it's like to choose yourself. You might feel guilty. You might worry that you're being too cold, too distant. But that's just your conditioning talking. That's just years of societal programming telling you that your worth is tied to how much you can give to someone else. It's not. Your worth is inherent. It exists whether someone recognizes it or not. And when you finally start treating yourself like gold, people will either step up or step out of your life. Either way, you win. The real power, move. Stop explaining yourself. Stop justifying why you deserve love, respect, and effort. Stop giving second chances to people who didn't appreciate the first one. Stop entertaining conversations that leave you feeling empty. Because here's the truth. The right one will make things clear. The right one won't leave you questioning. And if someone does, that's all the proof you need that they aren't for you. Why people only value. What they lose. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly appreciate something the moment it's taken away? How the thing they once ignored, overlooked, dismissed, suddenly becomes important once it's out of reach? That's human nature. We don't appreciate water until we're thirsty. We don't appreciate warmth until we're cold. And we don't appreciate someone's presence until we have to experience their absence. That's why Stoic relationships focus on detachment. Because a Stoic never begs for what should be given freely. A Stoic understands that love is about reciprocation, not desperation. The moment you stop chasing, the power dynamic shifts. The second you stop convincing, stop proving, stop chasing, something fascinating happens. They start wondering, why aren't you reaching out? Why aren't you checking in? Why aren't you trying anymore? And that's when they realize, not because you told them, not because you begged, but because your absence speaks louder than words. And if they still don't realize, then congratulations. You just saved yourself from a lifetime of being undervalued. It's time to break the cycle. No more pouring your energy into people who only take and never give. No more handing out discounts on something priceless. Your love, your time, your effort. Because here's the reality, people treat you the way you allow them to. If you keep lowering yourself for someone who won't even meet you halfway, you teach them that their bare minimum is acceptable, and it's not. So, what's your next move? Are you going to keep marketing yourself to someone who doesn't care? Or are you finally going to act like the prize you are? Because the moment you change the way you see yourself, everything around you changes. Suddenly, the people who once treated you like an option will realize that you were the only choice that ever mattered. But by then, you won't even want them anymore. If this is hitting you hard right now, that's a good thing. That means you're waking up. That means you're finally seeing the truth. And if you're ready to stop chasing, stop proving, stop begging, take action right now. Drop a number 1 in the comments if this message spoke to you. Because this is your turning point. This is where you take your power back. And if you're serious about never letting yourself be treated like an option again, hit that subscribe button, because trust me, this is just the beginning. 3. Your energy is currency. Stop spending it on the wrong people. Your energy is your most valuable asset, yet you keep giving it away for free. Think about it. Every time you text first, every time you check their social media, every time you replay conversations in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently, you're spending your energy. But are you investing it in someone who deserves it? Or are you throwing it away on someone who doesn't even notice? The truth, the more you invest in the wrong people, the less energy you have for the right ones. And you? You deserve better? So stop chasing. Stop convincing, stop auditioning for a role in someone's life because the right one. They won't need a sales pitch. Stop investing in people who give you nothing in return. Every time you replay conversations in your head, wondering what you could have said differently, every time you check your phone, hoping for a response that never comes, every time you pour your energy into someone who doesn't reciprocate, you're spending your energy. And what do you get in return? Nothing. If anything, you walk away feeling drained, frustrated, and questioning your own worth. But let's ask the real question. Would you ever walk into a store, pull out a wad of cash, and just hand it to the cashier without getting anything in return? Would you stand there smiling, waiting for them to acknowledge you, thank you, appreciate you, even when they don't seem to care? Of course not. That would be insane. Yet that's exactly what you do when you keep investing your time, love, and emotions into people who never give back. The biggest lie you've been told about love society has sold you a scam. They told you that love requires endless giving, that if you just try hard enough, if you just hold on long enough, they'll finally see your worth. But here's the truth. Love is not a charity. You are not here to fund someone else's emotional needs while they give you scraps in return. You are not here to pour into their cup while they let yours run empty, because when you keep overgiving, you teach them that their bare minimum is acceptable, and it's not. The real cost of wasting your energy on the wrong people. Every time you sit by your phone waiting for a text, that's time you could have spent building yourself. Every time you let someone's inconsistency dictate your mood, that's energy you could have poured into something that actually grows you. Every time you get stuck in the cycle of overthinking, analyzing, and doubting, you are robbing yourself of peace. And peace? Peace is priceless. But you won't know what it feels like until you start protecting it. What Stoicism teaches us about love. A Stoic does not waste energy trying to control what they cannot change. A Stoic does not chase, does not beg, does not plead for things that should come naturally. They understand that effort must be reciprocated, that love should be mutual, that any connection requiring convincing is not a connection, it's a transaction. And a one-sided transaction, that's just theft. Are you being emotionally robbed? Ask yourself, are you giving more than you're receiving? Are you lowering your standards just to keep someone in your life? Because if you are, then it's time to make a withdrawal. The truth about people and scarcity. This isn't about shutting people out. It's not about being cold, bitter, or emotionless. It's about valuing yourself enough to stop entertaining what drains you. Because here's reality, people only value what is scarce. The moment they see you as always available, they stop appreciating you. The moment they know you will always try harder, they stop putting in effort. And the more you invest in someone who doesn't invest in you, the more you deplete yourself. Think of your energy like a bank account. Every time you show up for someone, every time you listen, every time you care, you're making a withdrawal. In a healthy relationship, there are also deposits, love, effort, reciprocity. But what happens when all you do is give? What happens when you keep making withdrawals and nothing is ever added back? You end up bankrupt. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And once you're drained, once you have nothing left to give, do you really think they'll suddenly start caring? Number, because they were never invested to begin with. The hardest truth to accept. You keep expecting them to change, to realize your worth, to finally appreciate you. But here's the thing, if someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to work this hard in the first place. If they genuinely valued you, you wouldn't feel like you have to earn their attention. Real connections don't require you to sacrifice yourself just to be seen. And the more you waste your energy on people who treat you as an afterthought, the less you have to give to the ones who truly deserve it. So ask yourself, are you done wasting your time, or are you finally ready to start investing in yourself? Stop giving your energy to the wrong people. Let's talk about the people who waste your time. You know the ones, the people who never text first, but always respond just enough to keep you hooked. Disappear for days or weeks only to return when it's convenient for them. Never initiate plans, but always say maybe when you ask, keeping you stuck in uncertainty. Take, but never give. And every time you keep showing up, despite knowing deep down that they don't truly care, you're teaching them that they don't need to. So what's the solution? Stop giving discounts on your value. Stop offering your time, love, and energy to people who have done nothing to earn it. Stop believing your role in life is to fix, heal, or prove yourself to those who refuse to meet you halfway, because the moment you start protecting your energy, everything changes. At first, it'll feel uncomfortable. You'll want to reach out, you'll want to explain yourself, you'll want to check in just to see if they notice your absence, but you must resist, because the second you step back, the truth will reveal itself. Who actually cares, and who was only sticking around because you were doing all the work? Then you'll feel free. No more emotional roller coasters, no more decoding mixed signals, no more waiting, wondering, and hoping. And finally, you'll feel powerful, because the moment you reclaim your energy, the moment you stop giving so freely to people who don't deserve it, your entire life shifts. You'll attract better. You'll have more energy to pour into the things that actually bring you joy. You'll finally experience the peace that comes from knowing your worth isn't dependent on someone else's recognition. This is what real relationships are built on. Mutual effort, self-respect. The understanding that love should never be begged for, because if you have to convince someone of your worth, they were never meant for you. And if you have to constantly fight for a connection, it was never real to begin with. So stop giving your time, your heart, and your energy to people who only see you as temporary. Start investing in yourself, because once you do, everything will change, not just in your relationships, but in every aspect of your life. And let me tell you something. When you finally pull away, when you stop making yourself so accessible, that's when they'll notice. That's when they'll realize what they lost. But by then, you won't even care. Walking away hurts, but staying hurts more. There's always a moment where you have to make a choice. Stay and suffer, or walk away and heal. The problem? Most people don't walk away until they're completely broken. They stay, hoping, waiting, convincing themselves that things will change. But deep down, they know the truth. The person they're holding on to will never love them the way they deserve. The attachment is too strong. The history is too deep. The fear of letting go is overwhelming. That's where you are right now, isn't it? Torn between what you feel and what you know. You know this situation isn't serving you. You know they don't put in the same effort. You know you're exhausted from carrying the weight of this connection alone. But something inside you whispers, what if I just try a little longer? That's the lie keeping you stuck. That's the false hope that keeps you investing in someone who stopped investing in you a long time ago. The hardest pill to swallow? They're not confused about you. They're not unsure about their feelings. They're not figuring things out. They're just comfortable knowing that no matter how little effort they put in, you won't leave. That's why they don't change. That's why they don't chase. Because they don't have to. You've trained them to believe they can treat you however they want, and you'll still stay. But here's the truth that will set you free. Staying hurts more than leaving ever will. And every day that you stay in a situation that's breaking you, you're choosing to keep breaking. So the real question is, how much longer are you willing to suffer? Because the moment you decide to walk away, that's the moment you finally start to heal. If it drains you, it's not for you. Every day you stay in a situation that makes you question your worth, that fills you with anxiety instead of security, you are making a choice to stay small, a choice to prioritize someone else's comfort over your own peace, a choice to hold on to something that is already slipping away. And that's why you feel exhausted, because you're fighting against reality, against your own intuition, against a truth you already know but are afraid to accept. Walking away isn't about them, it's about you. This isn't about proving a point. It's not about making them miss you. It's not about playing some manipulative game. It's about choosing yourself. It's about understanding that no matter how much love, effort, or patience you pour into someone, you can't make them care if they don't want to. That realization hurts, but it's also the most freeing thing you will ever understand, because once you see that the only thing keeping you trapped is your own fear, you can finally break free. What happens when you finally leave? At first, it will feel like withdrawal. You'll crave their presence, even though it was inconsistent. You'll want to check their social media, to reach out, to go back for one last conversation. Your mind will cling to the familiar, even when it was never good for you. But if you resist, if you push through the discomfort, something shifts. Slowly, the fog lifts. You start to see things clearly. You start to realize how much you were settling, how much you were giving to someone who never deserved it. And then something even more powerful happens. You start to feel free. Freedom doesn't come instantly. It's not a switch you flip. It's a process. But every time you choose yourself, every time you fight the urge to return to what broke you, you're rebuilding your self-worth. You're proving to yourself that you were never truly dependent on them. You were just conditioned to believe you were. That's the trick the mind plays. It convinces you that this person is special, that they're different, that you'll never find someone else like them. And maybe that's true, maybe you won't. But here's the real question. Why would you want to? Why would you want to hold on to someone who made you feel invisible? Why would you fight for someone who treated you like an option? Why would you waste another second convincing someone to love you when love should never require convincing? The longer you stay, the harder it is to see the truth. The more you justify, the more you blind yourself to what's really happening. But the second you step back, everything becomes clear. And here's the part no one tells you. When you walk away, they will notice, because people don't appreciate what's always available. The moment you stop texting, stop checking in, stop chasing, they will feel it. And for the first time, they will have to sit with the absence of your presence. That's when the regret kicks in. That's when they start to wonder. But by then, it will be too late. Because by the time they realize your value, you will have already realized it yourself. This is what true strength looks like. Stoicism doesn't teach us to be emotionless. It doesn't teach us to be cold. It teaches us control, to understand that while our emotions are real, they do not have to control us. Just because we love someone doesn't mean they deserve access to us. Just because we feel a connection doesn't mean it's healthy. And just because walking away hurts doesn't mean staying is better. So now you have a choice. You can keep waiting, keep hoping, keep trying to force something that should have happened naturally. Or you can choose yourself. You can stop fighting for someone who has already shown you who they are. You can stop investing your love where it isn't being returned. You can finally let go, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself more. And if this is hitting you hard, that's a good thing, because it means you're waking up. And once you wake up, there's no going back. Take your power back. It starts now. If you're finally seeing things clearly, if you're done giving your heart to people who don't deserve it, then this is your moment. Like this video and comment number 1 if you're ready to walk away from what no longer serves you. Because this isn't just about one person or one situation, it's about how you see yourself. It's about the standards you set. It's about how you allow others to treat you. And if you're serious about never being in this position again, hit subscribe, because we're just getting started. A king doesn't beg for a seat at his own throne. Let's get one thing straight. You are the prize. You always have been. But somewhere along the way you forgot that. Somewhere between the waiting, the hoping, the over-explaining, and the proving, you convinced yourself that your worth depended on someone else recognizing it. That if they didn't see it, maybe it wasn't real. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe you had to try harder. That's the lie that keeps you stuck. That's the illusion that makes you chase instead of build. But let me tell you something. A king does not beg for a seat at his own throne. A lion does not plead with a gazelle to stay. And you were never meant to convince someone to love you. You were meant to stand in your power and let the right people recognize it without hesitation. Look at the people. You admire the legends, the icons, the visionaries. Do you think they waste time chasing validation? Do you think they put their purpose, grind, and mission on hold just to convince someone of their worth? Number they build, they grow. They become so undeniable that people have no choice but to notice. That's the difference between those who command respect and those who beg for attention. And right now, you're at a crossroads. You can either, 1, keep waiting, hoping this person finally wakes up and sees your worth, or 2, shift your focus inward and start becoming the person they will regret losing. People don't value what's forced. Here's the truth. Every time you chase, overgive, or bend over backward to make someone see your worth, you rob them of the opportunity to realize it on their own. And that's the only way it ever really counts. People value what they have to earn, not what's handed to them. Every time you show up uninvited, every time you lower your standards just to keep them around, you make it easier for them to take you for granted. They don't have to work for your presence because you've already made it clear that you'll be there no matter what. The game changes when you stop chasing. Most people get it wrong. They think that by staying available, by constantly proving their love, by always being the one to check in, they're winning. But the truth? The real value isn't in being present. It's in being missed. The second you stop chasing, the second you stop needing external validation, the entire game changes. Suddenly, you are not the one asking to be chosen. You are the one doing the choosing. And that shift, that realization, it's what separates those who attract effortlessly from those who are always chasing something that never stays. Ask yourself this: what would happen if you just stopped? Stopped texting first. Stopped checking their social media. Stopped waiting for them to wake up and realize what they have. What would happen if you took all that energy and poured it into yourself, your goals, your purpose, your happiness? Because the truth is, when you stop handing out your presence for free, people start realizing its value. And the ones who never cared, they fade away, leaving space for the people who actually do. But let's talk about the fear. The fear that if you pull away, if you stop trying, they'll forget you. That's the fear that keeps most people trapped. They think that if they don't remind someone of their worth, they'll be replaced. But here's the thing. Anyone who needs constant reminders of your worth was never worthy of you to begin with. So, this is your moment. Not to chase, not to convince, not to beg, but to choose yourself. And when you do, everything will change. The right people don't need constant reminders of your worth. Let's get real. If someone truly sees your value, you won't have to convince them. They won't play mind games. They won't leave you in limbo. They won't make you feel like one wrong move will send them walking away. That's not love. That's manipulation. And the longer you stay, the more you lose yourself, trying to hold on to something that was never stable to begin with. Flip the script. Imagine this. You're building an empire. You have a mission, a purpose, something greater than yourself that you're working toward. Now someone walks into your life. Do they add to it or distract you from it? Do they support you, respect you, match your energy? Or do they leave you questioning whether they even care? Because if someone isn't an asset to your life, then they are a liability. And a king does not waste time convincing people to stay. He's too busy building his kingdom. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest tool. A Stoic does not beg, does not plead, does not attach their self-worth to whether or not someone sees it. They understand that their power lies in their ability to walk away from anything that does not serve them. They don't react emotionally to rejection or indifference because they know that their worth is not up for debate. That's the mindset you need. That's the level of self-respect that changes everything. What it actually looks like to stop begging for a seat at your own throne. 1. You stop initiating conversations with people who never reach out first. 2. You stop explaining yourself to those who have already shown they don't value you. 3. You stop showing up for people who wouldn't do the same for you. 4. And most importantly, you stop settling for breadcrumbs when you were meant for a feast. Instead, you shift your energy inward. You build yourself up. You become the version of you that they will regret losing, not because you want them back, but because you finally understand your own worth. And here's what happens next. The ones who truly cared, they will rise to meet you. They will recognize that you are no longer available for the games, the half-efforts, the uncertainty. And the ones who never cared, they will disappear. Because their power over you only existed as long as you were willing to chase. Without that, they have nothing. And that's when you see the truth. You never needed them in the first place. So, what's your next move? Do you keep waiting, hoping they'll finally wake up and see your worth? Or do you step fully into your power, knowing that the right person will never make you question whether they care? This is the moment everything shifts. The moment you decide you are done explaining, done proving, done begging. Because the people who truly belong in your life will recognize your worth without needing a reminder. And the second you stop chasing, that's when the right people start showing up. That's when the world starts matching your energy. Because a king does not beg for a seat at his own throne. He simply takes it. The illusion of hope, why you keep holding on. Hope is a beautiful thing. It keeps us moving forward, gives us strength in difficult times, and allows us to believe in possibilities beyond our current reality. But hope can also be a prison. It can keep you stuck in a situation long past its expiration date. It makes you believe that if you just wait a little longer, if you just try a little harder, things will change. But they won't. Not in the way you're hoping for. Because hope without action, without reality, without self-respect, is just self-deception. And right now, that's exactly what's happening to you. You're not holding on because you believe this person truly values you. You're holding on because you're afraid of what happens if you let go. Let's be brutally honest. What are you really holding on to? What exactly are you waiting for? For them to suddenly wake up one day and realize what they had in you? For them to finally see you the way you've always seen them? For them to change and become the person you've been hoping for. That's the fantasy you keep feeding, and every time you entertain it, every time you ignore reality in favor of potential, you make it harder to walk away. Because the truth is, you're not in love with them. You're in love with the idea of what they could be. That's the illusion. That's the trick your mind is playing on you. You're not staying because they make you feel loved, appreciated, or respected. You're staying because you're afraid of what it means if you leave. It's time to face the truth. If someone wanted to treat you right, they already would. If someone valued you, you wouldn't be questioning your place in their life. If someone genuinely cared, you wouldn't be stuck in this cycle, waiting, hoping, wondering. Because real love doesn't feel like a guessing game. It doesn't leave you in limbo. It doesn't make you second-guess your worth. And the fact that you have to convince yourself to stay, that's all the proof you need that you shouldn't. But why are you still holding on? Because leaving feels like failure. You've invested so much time, energy, emotions. Walking away feels like admitting defeat. You don't want to believe you wasted all that effort on someone who never truly saw you. You don't want to accept that you've been chasing a dream instead of living in reality. That's understandable. It's painful. But here's the truth. Staying in something that isn't right for you, that's the real failure. Wasting more time, more energy, more love on someone who won't reciprocate, that's the real loss. Why should you have to prove your worth? Think about it. Why should you have to convince someone to value you? Why should love feel like a competition where you're constantly fighting to be noticed, to be chosen? That's not love, that's insecurity. That's emotional starvation, and you deserve more than that. You deserve someone who sees your value without needing a presentation, chooses you without hesitation, makes you feel safe, not anxious. The longer you hold on to this illusion, the longer you delay meeting the person who will actually give you that. What happens when you finally let go? At first, it's going to hurt. Let's not sugarcoat it. You'll feel withdrawal, you'll miss them, even though they made you feel small. You'll have moments of weakness, questioning if you made the right choice. Your mind will play tricks on you, replaying only the good moments, conveniently forgetting all the times they made you feel like you weren't enough. That's normal. That's part of the process. But if you can push through that, if you can resist the urge to reach out, to check in, to cling to hope, something shifts. Suddenly you start to realize how much of your peace was being stolen, how much of your energy was being drained, how much you were settling for less than you deserved. And then, slowly but surely, you start to feel free, not all at once, not overnight, but little by little, the weight lifts. You start to see the reality, not the fantasy you created in your head. And for the first time in a long time, you feel like yourself again. And here's where it gets interesting. The moment you truly let go, they will feel it. The second you stop, reaching out, checking in, hoping for change, they will notice. Because people always notice when the thing they took for granted is suddenly gone. And that's when they start to wonder. That's when they start to feel the absence of your presence. Because as long as you were always there, they never had to question what life without you would feel like. Now, they do. So, what's your move? Do you keep waiting, hoping they'll finally change? Or do you choose yourself, knowing that real love was never meant to feel like this? This is your turning point. Take your power back. Let go of the illusion and watch how everything starts to shift. By the time they realize your worth, it won't matter anymore. Now they finally get it. Now they start to think about you. Now they begin to regret. Now they miss what they once had. But here's the thing. By the time they realize your worth, you will have already recognized it yourself. By the time they miss you, you won't want them anymore. By the time they reach out, you will have moved on to something better. And that's the ultimate power move. Not revenge, not making them jealous, not trying to get them back, just becoming so focused on yourself, so at peace with your decision that they no longer have access to your energy. That's true strength. That's real self-respect. So now the question is, are you going to keep holding on to something that's already dead? Are you going to keep investing in someone who has already shown you that you are not their priority? Or are you finally going to choose yourself? Because that's what this all comes down to, a choice. Not their choice. Your choice. You've spent so much time waiting for them to change, to step up, to see your value. But now it's time for you to see it, to step up for yourself, to stop waiting for permission to move on. And if you're ready to make that choice, if you're finally done chasing, done hoping, done convincing, hit like and comment 1 if you're ready to take your power back. Because this isn't just about them, this is about you, how you see yourself, how you value your time, your energy, your love. And if you're serious about never being in this position again, hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning of your glow up. The glow up they never saw coming. There's a version of you on the other side of this pain, a version of you that doesn't wait by the phone, that doesn't replay conversations in your head, that doesn't question your worth based on someone else's inability to see it. And guess what? That version of you, it's not a fantasy, it's real, it's waiting for you. And the only thing standing between you and that version of yourself, your decision to let go, not just physically, not just by deleting their number or blocking them, but mentally and emotionally, because real detachment, it's not about cutting someone off and then spending all your time thinking about them. It's about when their absence no longer feels like a void, just peace. Right now, that feels impossible, doesn't it? You can't imagine not caring, not checking, not feeling that pull every time you hear their name or see something that reminds you of them. That's because you're still invested, you're still emotionally tied to the outcome, still waiting for something, an apology, an explanation, a change that will never come. But what if you redirected that energy? What if instead of waiting for them to wake up, you woke up? What if instead of hoping they finally see your worth, you started acting like someone who already knows it? The biggest mistake people make after walking away. Most people think they've moved on, but they're still waiting for a reaction. They go silent, but secretly hope to be missed. They stop reaching out, but still check to see if the other person notices. That's not healing. That's not moving on. That's just another form of attachment. True healing doesn't come from wanting to be chased. It comes from finally realizing you don't care if they chase you or not. That's the real glow up. When you wake up one day and it no longer matters. When you don't feel the need to check if they regret losing you. When their silence doesn't affect you at all. That's when you win. What it takes to truly move. On people think healing happens automatically. That time alone is enough to make the pain go away. That's a lie. Time doesn't heal anything if you spend it doing the same things that keep you stuck. If you keep stalking their social media, if you keep replaying the past, if you keep waiting for them to come back. Healing doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. And that choice? It's yours to make, the glow up they never saw coming. If you keep checking their social media, if you keep replaying the past, if you keep living in the story of what could have been, then no matter how much time passes, you'll stay stuck in the same place. Because healing isn't about waiting, it's about choosing, it's about making different decisions, it's about building yourself up so high that what once hurt you no longer has access to you. Step 1. Protect your energy. Your energy is too valuable to waste. That means no more entertaining what drains you, no more giving attention to people who don't give it back, no more wishing, waiting, wondering. You take your power back by putting your energy where it belongs, on yourself. And not in some vague, cliché self-love kind of way, but in an active, intentional, disciplined way. That means taking care of your body, strengthening your mind, focusing on your goals, because that's what most people get wrong. They think a glow-up is just about looking better or making someone regret losing them. But the real glow-up, it's about becoming so at peace, so fulfilled, so focused on your own path that their opinion is irrelevant. That's when they feel it. That's when they start to notice, not when you try to make them jealous, not when you post pictures for a reaction, but when your energy shifts, when you stop seeking, when you stop proving anything at all, because at the end of the day, nothing is more powerful than indifference. Nothing is more attractive than someone who is completely unbothered. Step 2, the real transformation. Let's be honest, this isn't an overnight process. You don't just wake up one day and magically stop caring. It takes effort. It takes discipline. It takes choosing yourself every single day, because your mind will try to pull you back. It will whisper, maybe you should check one more time. Maybe you should send that one last message. Maybe they'll finally realize. But that's the test. That's the moment you either fall back into old patterns or break free from them completely. Every time you choose not to react, every time you choose not to chase, you are reprogramming yourself. You are teaching your brain, I am no longer available for things that diminish my worth. That's how you win. That's how you shift from being the person waiting to be chosen to the person who chooses themselves. Step 3. The moment everything changes. Here's the best part. By the time they finally realize what they lost, by the time they feel your absence, by the time they start wondering what happened to you, you won't care anymore because you'll be too busy living your life. That's the ultimate power move. Not revenge, not proving anything, just becoming so focused on yourself that they no longer have any effect on you. That's the real glow up. And guess what? That stronger, wiser, unshakable version of you, it's already within you. And you will get there. Not by waiting, not by hoping, but by choosing, by waking up every day and deciding, I deserve more than someone's half-hearted efforts. I deserve more than being an option. I was never meant to chase love. I am love. And when you truly believe that, only the ones who genuinely value you will be able to reach you. This is your sign. This is it. The moment where you decide, do you keep holding on? Or do you finally let go? Do you keep waiting for a sign? Or do you realize, this is the sign? Do you continue chasing? Or do you step into your power? Because at the end of the day, the glow up they never saw coming was never about them. It was always about you. You've always had the power. You've always been capable of walking away, of reclaiming your energy, of choosing yourself. The only thing that kept you stuck? The illusion that you needed them to validate your worth. But now you see the truth. Now you know love isn't something you chase. Respect isn't something you earn through suffering. The right people see your worth from the start, and the wrong ones, they lose access forever. Now it's your turn to live. Suffering is not proof of love. Attention from someone who doesn't truly care isn't a prize, it's a distraction. The moment you stop searching for signs, stop waiting for closure, stop hoping for change that will never come, that's when you step into your true power. And let me tell you, that version of you, It's unstoppable. The shift they never expected. They will feel your absence. They will wonder where you went. They will replay every moment when you were always there, always giving, always reaching out. But by the time they realize what they lost, you won't just be gone, you will have grown. You won't just have moved on, you will have leveled up. Because the real freedom isn't just about leaving them behind. It's about outgrowing the part of you that once accepted less. So the real question isn't, will they miss me? The real question is, will I even care if they do? And the answer, number. Because the moment you stop hoping, stop seeking, stop waiting, that's when you truly win, becoming untouchable. This is when everything changes. When you stop being a prisoner to someone else's inconsistency and start being the ruler of your own life. When you master the art of not needing external validation, you become unshakable. No more feeling anxious about people who come and go, questioning your worth based on someone else's actions, entertaining connections that drain you. Instead, you shift your focus to your growth, your purpose, your power, and that's the real victory, your turning point. This is it, your moment, your turning point, the place where you decide you're done being an option, you're done settling for bare minimum effort, you're done allowing someone else's inability to love you to define how you see yourself. Because from this moment forward, the only thing that matters is how you feel about you. Not them, not their response, not their regrets, just you, standing in your worth, without waiting, hoping, or needing validation from anyone else. The start of something new. This isn't just a new chapter, this is a whole new book, a new mindset, a new energy, a new way of moving through life, where you no longer beg for what should be freely given. And if you've read this far, if this message hit different, then deep down, you already know you never need to text them again. You never need to check their social media. You never need to wonder what if, because they had their chance. And now it's your turn to live. Drop a 1 if you're claiming this power. On fire